Yes, hello there and welcome to today's episode of Weekend Rewind. Yes, this is when we put our hands back into the Join Up Dots vaults, swirl it around a bit and find an episode that maybe has got lost in the midst of time. And this is in response to the amount of requests we get from people who say, David, with all the episodes you've released, where should we start? Well, it's very hard to find a place, so we're just going to randomly pick one, and this is today's episode. Enjoy.
When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, good morning to you, everybody. This is David Ralph, so it means you must be listening to Join Up Dots. Join Up Dots, episode 563, I believe, and it's going to be a good one. And it's one of those shows that I actually need myself. Yes, I am in pain. I'm in pain. I'm limping around like an old lady over the last couple of days. Don't know what's the matter with me. And adding to that, and this is why I've got a guest on the show. I didn't actually sort of book her in to do this, but it's going to be great because I'm going to research big time. It's been so hot and sweaty in the United Kingdom over the last few days. I haven't slept a wink. I am so tired I can barely open my mouth to record. And so it's a delight to have her on because she is a lady who the majority of the world need to get into contact with, because she's a sleep expert who over the last few years has positioned herself as the go-to person to help you drift off into pleasant, restful and recharging sleep as soon as your head hits the pillow. As she says, I understand that sleeping while on sleep medication isn't really sleeping. I understand that falling asleep but then having to lie awake for hours in the middle of the night isn't really sleeping. I do that all the time. And I understand that waking up just as tired as when you went to bed isn't really sleeping either. So hands up. Come on, people. Be honest. How many of you have fallen into one of those sleep patterns over the last few years? Right, okay, a few hands at the back. Yeah, I can. Right, okay, a few of us. Yeah, I know that we all have. So how has our guest managed to find a solution to something that plagues all of us at one time or another? And the answer is, she's been on a journey of self-discovery, upskilling and putting herself and her knowledge out there. Starting her journey as an English teacher in Luxembourg, she had a pretty standard career for a few years until she got to the point when her interest in corporate coaching and sleep patterns became too much to ignore, and she took the leap of faith, leaving her career in education in 2015 to start something new and inspiring. And since then, with a huge amount of hustle, commitment, perseverance, and of course struggle, she's built a hugely successful business coaching career-driven women and men, I suppose, on how to get a solid night's sleep, allowing them to wake up refreshed, with more energy and ready to tackle their legacy and personal life. So how has she managed to do all this while still getting a good night's sleep herself? And is it as simple as learning to switch off from everything that needs to be done, or is it so much more than that? Well, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only and my favourite ever sleep expert, Christine Hansen. Good morning to you, Christine. How are you?
Good morning. I'm so glad to be here. What an amazing introduction. Wow. I have to re-listen to that to myself every morning, I think.
Yeah, you wait till it gets launched. You can have it by the side of your bed. When you reach out and you think to yourself, oh, God, is that my alarm clock? I need another 4 hours, Kip. I don't want to be teaching people about sleep patterns. I just want to roll over and go back to sleep. Do you have days like that, or do you jump out of bed? Are you the world's worst woman in the morning to jump out of bed and dance around the bedroom?
Yes, pretty much. I'm not a morning person at all, which is why I adore being self-employed. I do have a toddler, though, who doesn't agree with me all the time. But in general, I'm not a morning person. And it's the biggest luxury not to have to get up at 6 a.m. or something like that. Like, seriously, I'm not a person you want to meet without having a coffee first.
So it's funny because most of the entrepreneurs I speak to, and I've fallen into this trap as well, get up at stupid o'clock. Now, some of them get up so stupid that I actually think there's some kind of insanity there. You know, they say to me, oh, I go to bed at 8:15 in the evening and I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why would you ever want to do that if you've got the whole day to create your own time? So you are somebody that goes against that and sort of wakes up when you want to wake up.
Yeah, I really go with my strength. Like, I really know when I will be good to produce good content and to have great conversations. And I also know when I'll just be absolute rubbish. And I think that's something that we all have this idea that it's 9 to 5, or, the morning hours are the golden hours, and the earlier you get up, the more productive you will be. But truth is, if your body clock doesn't work that way, you're just tired and miserable and won't be as strong and as creative and as imaginative as you could be if you work to your own strengths, basically. So it takes to get to know them, and then also to be okay with that.
So when you were a sort of corporate lady going to the classroom, which I imagine started probably 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, were you somebody that would walk into the room and go, "Children, sit down, sit down"? And would you be really grouchy, or were you the lovely teacher that they all liked?
Oh, it really depends. In general, I'm a good humored person. And even if I'm not, I'm quite a drama queen. So, it would first start when I'd go into the teachers' conference, and they would already know my mood. Like, if I'd come in a bad mood, they'd know, "Oh, Christine, you're in a bad mood." But in general, I would be in a good mood. And then it depended on which class I'd have to teach, to be honest. But in general, I think I'm always, once I'm running, I'm just good natured and positive. So, but it depends. But in general, no, I can manage. It needs a shower and a cup of coffee and breakfast, and then okay, I can get there.
Because I'm going to tell you something, Christine, that might surprise you. This might shock you, and this might alienate 50% of my audience. But women are generally moody anyway, aren't they? Aren't they, Christine? I live in a house of women, and you never know what you're going to get. Within seconds, they can go from one extreme to another. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with this positive energy, teaching people how to, wake up refreshed when actually you just want to stab them, and you was all right 5 minutes ago?
I don't work with people like that, I suppose. Like, my clients are adorable. I really love working with them.
No,
But
you
it's
don't.
really
You don't like them all, do you? You don't like them all. There's going to be some that you think, "Oh God, I've got them today."
Sometimes, if I have to teach like corporate seminars and I have just this negative people around me, it's just like, okay, well, you be negative. I'll stick with the positive ones. I just leave them. It's, if they want to be bad mooded and broody, go ahead. It's not my problem. So, but that's the good thing about my private clients, because I can choose them. I really get to know them, and then I choose if I want to work with them. That's so cool. Like, I couldn't do that with my students. They were just there, and I'd have to deal with it. So, lots of good stuff.
No, I agree with that totally. And that's one of the things that I love about doing my job. I don't do too much coaching. I did do a lot of coaching at the beginning when I started Join Up Dots. I wanted to build income very quickly. And so I took on coaching clients. And to be honest, hey, they're probably not listening to this show anymore. I didn't like half of them. And I used to wake up thinking, right, what am I doing? Oh, God, I've got to speak to so-and-so today. And so I got rid of all of them. And little by little, I'm filling up a group called Dream Starters Academy that are just full of the most wonderful people that I just want to be supporting them all the time. It's great when you can do that, isn't it? And basically, everyone can, can't they? When they find that thing and they start niching down, they can find the people that they want to work with in a subject that they love as well. And that's what you've done.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Like, it is scary because you are going to reduce yourself and you're not going to work with everyone, but it's so rewarding because I truly, really adore my clients, and I would never have thought that I could really build connections like that. But they are really important to have a connection like that. And for me, it's just, I love helping them and love seeing them change and cheering them on and see what they can do. And it's just seeing things that they don't see and helping them get there. That's amazing. And it's true that it does take, you need to be a strong person in order to, as you said in the beginning, to turn some people away. So I think it's really important for every coach or everyone who's service-based to take the time and get to know potential clients and really go with your gut and on saying yes or no and working with them. I think it's crucial for your happiness.
So do you focus in now? Because my big thing this week is spider senses. I've had a couple of things over the last couple of weeks where I knew it was wrong at the beginning. I just knew that whatever was going to happen wasn't going to land well, but I still went for it. And I was proved right. And I've been saying to people, you've got to trust your spider senses. They are there. And so are you a lady that really goes, yeah, hang on, doesn't feel right, not going to do it?
Completely, yeah. I'm very impulsive, always have been. And whenever I thought things through, usually I took the wrong decision. So I really always go with my gut and really trust my intuition on that. And it's not 100% accurate. Sometimes I did things that, were really stupid or that, turned out wasn't the best decision. But in general, I built beautiful connections with that and chose the right people to surround myself with too. So, and I'm the more independent, which I'm still working on, I suppose, the more independent I get, the more I trust that feeling.
Let's sort of frame how you operate. You are in Luxembourg at the moment. Mm-hmm. You have got clients across the globe. Mm-hmm. When you first took that leap of faith and you left your job, did you hustle like mad to get out there, or did you have a few clients that you'd already started working with on a side hustle? How did you go from that earning income to no income to, yay, I'm Christine Hansen, the world's most attractive sleep expert? How did you do that?
I didn't think too much about it, to be honest. I started out as a baby sleep consultant. That's how I got started, until I realized how many adults were asking me for their help and how important it was to deliver that too. So what happened was that I was not that happy in my job for a long time. But it's I studied English literature and children's literature as a master's. So it's really literally a Mickey Mouse degree. And here in Luxembourg, the main perception is still very traditional. Entrepreneurship is not something that you naturally do. It's quite traditional. You go into banking or you go to work for the government. So, I had a nice salary, everything was great, but I just didn't want to do it. And then I had my 23-year-old cousin who died of a heart attack, in an instant, which changed everything for me. And it really... that was the you only live once moment, where I thought, okay, you have to change something. And then you had the magical Facebook algorithm that turned up and showed me an ad to become a sleep consultant. And so that idea was in my head and it really stayed there. And I talked to my husband and I thought he'd say, no way, we have a mortgage and what do you think you're doing? Everything is great. And actually he looked at me and he was like, do it. You've been so miserable the last 3 years and in a really horrible mood whenever exams come up, just do it. And so, yeah, I just went for it. I just really, really went for it. And it turns out that I really adore marketing. I think I was also lucky. I started with a course in Skillshare, which was by Seth Godin. And so I think because of that, I got aware pretty quickly how you should market. And because I had left education and the government to become an entrepreneur, which is something unusual, I was really lucky to get a lot of traction by national newspapers because they were, first of all, nobody's doing sleep in Luxembourg, and I think not in many countries. So that was interesting to them, but also that I left a secure job to become an entrepreneur. And to be honest, I never worried about how it would go. I just always thought, okay, I have to do this. I want to do this. I know how to do this. So I just plowed forward and, I pivoted my direction from babies to adults. And that's where I really feel home at. That's really what I want to do. I still just go forward. I don't look back, except if it's, okay, I made that mistake already, not doing that again. But apart from that, I just go. I just go and I trust that everything is working and I'm doing the work. So I'm not just manifesting, I also do work. I really try to keep a positive mix of everything. And I'm just not worrying about things that haven't happened yet. It's just everything will work out. And so far, everything has. So I just trust in the process. And I trust the people who I surround myself with who give me advice, who coach me through different stuff. And so far, it's been an amazing, amazing journey. So I still have my main end goal ahead of me, and I'm just going there. And I don't know which kind of route it's going to be or where it's going to lead me and who I'm going to meet. And it definitely had its ups and downs already, but I think it has to be, if you know that everyone has those, if you're prepared that you're going to have very bad days, then they are not that bad, because you know that they're going to be good days again. But I think if you just think everything's going to be positive, then you're going to have a hard time sticking to it.
I don't know if I'm totally in belief of that, because I'm positive every single day. And even though some days are crappy, not very often, because I believe it's positive every single day, I kind of almost don't notice the bad days. I just kind of breeze through them. I think if I was going into my journey thinking, oh, it's going to be tough, and be sort of more wide open with my eyes, I think I would struggle. I think I would hold back somehow from that sort of ignorant just ploughing on, which I've done. And I look back over my own life in Join Up Dots, and there's been some times that I look back on it now and I think, how the hell did I get through that? Because I shouldn't have got through that, but I think it's just because I've been absolutely ignorant to the fact that it could go wrong or it was going to be hard work that I've just ploughed through. I've just kind of done that. But with yourself, Christine, what fascinates me is you have created a business for yourself, a successful business, on something that is all around us. Now, I know a lot of guys and ladies in the world, they think that they've got to create some new, amazing idea that nobody's ever seen before, as long as it's not Pokemon Go. Now, if you're creating that, I don't know who that was, but I'm going to come for you. It's a bad thing. People are getting run over left, right, and centre. But you've created something that's kind of there. And if I was sitting here thinking, right, I need a business. What should I do? Sleep. Everybody needs to sleep. Yeah, but we've all been doing it for all our lives. We should be experts at it now. How did you sort of overcome that feeling that I might have had, that actually there's nothing that I can teach people? People just sleep, don't they? They just sort of learn it from as a baby and move through. Or is that a simplistic way of looking at it?
The way that I knew that it was a great idea was simply by demand. It was really having so many people asking me that it actually occurred to me, because I never really thought that I'd do sleep for adults. I knew that I wanted to do it for babies, but I didn't know that I wanted to do it for adults until I had so many people come up to me asking me about it. And the thing with sleep is that even though it is a natural thing, you cannot control it. Like you can control the reverse. You know, you can be controlled or control yourself to wake up. There's an alarm clock and there you go. But the other way around, you cannot take sleep and force it to come. Like, okay, you can take a sleeping pill, but even that is not real sleep. So, and for some people, it's very easy and sleep just comes and sleep adores them. I like to personify sleep. So for me, sleep is like, you know, there's a little bit high maintenance friend that you have that is like a little bit bitchy and who, you know, everything needs to be perfect. And then she's fine.
That's a lady. That's a lady. I've already said that at the beginning.
For me, it's a lady, because I think sometimes some of them are a little bit more high maintenance than others. So I imagine it like this kind of older-ish lady who everything needs to be perfect with, and then she's great. Then she's giving it your all, you know, and she will hug you and adore you. But if not everything is just in place, then she's just a nightmare, and you know she won't have it. And that's a little bit how I see sleep for some people. For some, this lady is just much easier and content very quickly. And for others, it's just like, okay, this and this and this is not right. I'm going to give you a hard time. And then my job is really to optimize everything so that when she comes in, everything is to her liking. And she's like, okay, then we'll work it out. So that's a little bit how I work. And that's also how I think that some people are struggling with sleep and some are not. So it's very individual.
Because my son, yeah, it makes total sense. But I think there's a sort of genetics as well to it. Because when my son was a baby, we used to put him down at 6 o'clock at night. He would sleep through till midnight and then wake up for a bottle. And then he'd sleep through till 6 o'clock the next morning. Then he'd go back for a sleep at 9 o'clock in the morning to about 11. Then get up for a couple of hours. And then he'd go for another sleep in the afternoon. He was basically, we thought we had birthed a vampire. Basically, we never saw him. He was just sleeping all the time. And all our friends were saying, that's weird. And we were going, is it? I thought that's just how babies operated. And then my daughter came along and she was the opposite. She never went to sleep at all. And we were basically stapling her into her bed to sort of keep her there. And it was dreadful. Now, my son is 14. And he will go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, or about 9:45 by the time he sorts himself out. And literally, he will sleep till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's born to sleep. So is it a kind of genetic thing? Are people naturally more sleepy, or is it just that he's kind of trained himself over the years?
I think it can definitely be genetics in terms of how much you sleep or how you sleep. But very often it's also just a habit that you start to create, or something that is just not working the way it should be in terms of what your environment is like and what you do as well, like what your body is working like. So whenever people say, for example, okay, I'm a bad sleeper, my whole family has always been a bad sleeper, I'm very wary of that, because it can very easily become an excuse, and you can change so many things, but you have to be aware and ready to understand that you are your own person. Having said that, though, I think that biological clocks are very different from each person, and some people will need a lot more. Some people will need a lot more sleep than others, and others will need less sleep too, which I think is important to mention. Because I have some clients who freak out and they say, "I don't get 8 hours of sleep; I only get 6." And when I ask them, "So are you tired when you wake up?" and they're, "No, I'm great." Well, then that's perfectly fine, So it's very individual, and I think genetics can play a role, but I think it's often overestimated, and I think it's underestimated how much you can actually still do.
So is he lazy then? Is this it, Christine? Can I say to him that just say yes, and then I'll play it back to him. I'll read it out.
Teenagers need a lot more sleep than they're getting most of the time. They need up to 10 hours of sleep, which they don't get, and especially during the week when they have to go to school. So that's also the reason why they sleep so long during the weekend. It's basically because they catch up. And there's actually a huge movement starting to advocate school for teenagers starting later in the day, because their body clocks work a little bit different for teenagers. And so actually having them, I don't know, in Luxembourg, school starts at 8 and sometimes at 7:30. So some of them have to get up at 5:30 in order to take the bus to go to school. And it works completely against their rhythm. And so during the weekend, they are like you're describing. They catch up and they sleep easily till noon and have a great nap again. And I used to do that too. I used to catch up everything on the weekend. So, he could be more productive, of course, but it's not unnatural what he's doing.
My parents would never let me. I remember on a Saturday morning, and my wife always says to me, "Be quiet, don't make any noise till lunchtime." I go, "Lunchtime? I'm not waiting till lunchtime to mow the lawn. You could put a bomb in his room and it won't wake him up anyway." But my parents used to go, I remember it like 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, which is, I suppose, still quite early. It's wasting the day. You're sleeping the day away. And I used to think, I've got nothing to get up for. What am I doing? I'm getting up just to get up. Let me sleep, lady. And, mums have to be obeyed somehow until you get to my age, and then I still obey her somehow. But, yeah, you just couldn't sort of push through. But I remember also with my daughter, we used to have different ways of operating during the night, and my wife used to go in and give her a bottle, and she'd be in there for like 2 hours, and she'd pick her up and she'd give her a bottle and she'd wind her and she'd walk around the room and all that kind of stuff. And I used to be in there for about maybe 10-15 minutes, job done. I'm going to confess here, Christine. I've never confessed to anyone before. Nobody listens to this show, but I had a little routine. My wife never understood how I did this, but if anyone's got babies out there, and I don't know if it's changed now, maybe but you used to have these teats on the bottle, and it used to have an S and an M for slow flow and medium flow. And so when they're really little, you give them an S one so that they can just sort of suck, gently, and it's all right. And then the medium ones when they get a little bit bigger. And I used to be in her room, and I used to think, this is boring. Come on, just drink it. Just drink it. And let me get back to bed. And of course, she was on the slow flow. So what I did, I got my own teat that I had right high in a cupboard down in the kitchen. My wife's only 4'10", and I cut the top off of it, and I called it my turbo teat. And during the night, I would use that and put it in my daughter's mouth. And she was on her back in the bed. I didn't even pick her up. It sounds bad now. And she'd be half asleep. And I used to watch the milk actually go down, straight down. And then I used to just walk out. And as I was walking out the door, normally I'd hear this huge burp. And it was job done. I was back in bed. And my wife used to say, how have you done it so quick? Did you change her? And I go, yeah, I changed her. Yeah, I sorted her out. She didn't need changing. But now, yeah, turbo teat. So for any dads out there who want to get their sleep, that's the way. Get a little teat and cut the top bit off, and then your wife never knows. I mean, 15 years later, you can confess and get it off your chest. Is that the way that I should have been operating? Am I now a baby expert? Christine, have I taken your business?
Yeah, that's it. I'm just going to close shop.
But it is funny with babies, though, isn't it? It is funny how we all say, oh, you sleep like a baby. What? You don't sleep like a baby. We should be saying you sleep like an old man. Old men in the middle of the afternoon. That's what we want to sleep like. Yeah,
but they don't sleep at night, see? But yeah.
Getting up and going for a wee all the time. Is it all those kind of things as well for people that are struggling with sleep? Should they do things like, obviously, reduce the temperature in the bedroom, stop drinking after 8 o'clock at night? Is it those kind of little habits that make a lot of difference?
They are all part of the picture. But for true insomniacs, usually that's not quite enough. So there's tons of things that go into it. A lot of people struggle with what's going on in their heads, actually. Like you have this, I think everybody can relate, you have this busy day and then you're shattered and you want to go to bed and you're lying there, and that's when everything starts. You have all these thoughts racing in your head, or you have that at 3 a.m. and you wake up and you just can't fall back asleep and you have so much to think about. So a lot of things are also related to that. So that's where I usually start, and with the whole perception with sleep is, and what the ideas about sleep are. And then slowly I do integrate all the external factors like nutrition, routines, environment, movement, hydration. And that's why I call myself also an integrative sleep consultant, because it's really going from the inside and then adding tweaks and changes from the outside. And so it's very complex. And I think for some people, all the sleep hacks that you get out there, I think the article with most is 37 sleep hacks. But even if you apply all of those, it might be a little element that has to do with how you think that could make all the difference. So I think that's also why I struggle a little bit with giving too many generic tips, for example, and also with something which doesn't surprise me when people come to me and they said, I focused on one area of sleep, like my nutrition or just my mindset, and it's not changing anything. And it's because it's much more complex than that. So for some people, just having a bedtime routine and changing that is going to be more than enough. And for others, it's going to be more tricky.
What about a bit of sexy time, Christine? That
helps?
It does it? the doctor, it's good doctor's advice for that one.
Absolutely. You can take my word and do that. Also, something that really helps are massages. So, now you have the official green light to require or request a massage in the evening. That also helps.
Now, my problem is that I go to sleep on the sofa at 8 o'clock at night, and then I wake up and my wife says, right, we're going to bed now. And I go, oh, I'm not tired. I think I'll just watch this. What can I do about that then? How can I sort of push through from 8 o'clock to 10:30 and then go to bed like a normal person?
I think you probably already know the answer to that.
Sexy time. Is that it? Straight to sexy time. Even if she's watching halfway through a film, I stop the film and say, this is what I have been told. Now. Give it to me, lady. Give it to me.
That's not quite what I had in mind, but yeah, you can try that too. But I think if you're always falling asleep at 8 o'clock, you probably have to catch up on some sleep in general. And then I'd really avoid, like, I'd just go to bed earlier, like not necessarily at 8, but your natural bedtime is probably a lot earlier than you think. And it's just weird, to go to bed that early sometimes. Like for many adults, their actual optimal bedtime is 9 p.m., which seems ridiculous, I think, especially in the UK, because it's only at 9 p.m. that, the TV programs actually start.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, but for many people, that's the ideal time to actually go to bed. So it really depends. But if you always fall asleep at 8, yeah, then I'd look at what your rhythm is actually like.
Because I wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning. My alarm clock rarely ever goes off. And then I find by about, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I could have a little nap. I really could. But I don't. I just sort of push through to 8 o'clock when I sit down, and then I'm fast asleep. So you think I should shift it around a bit. But then you don't have a social life, do you? Because I hear this. I had a guy on the show recently called Craig Ballantyne, and he goes to bed at 8 o'clock in the evening. Kids are still up. Ice cream vans are still going around, and he's going to bed at 8 o'clock. And I said to him, that's just lunacy. And he went, yeah, but you're not missing out on much. It's only sort of TV, maybe watching a film, not much happens at that time of night. And I thought, yeah, okay, you got a fair point. But it's earlier than my kids go to bed.
Yeah, it is very unusual. Like 8 o'clock is maybe a bit early, but in general, I think it's more or less right. If you are grouchy, first of all, you sleep anyway from 8 to 10. So, and if you're on top of that grouchy during the day because you're not sleeping well, then I think there's nothing to lose. Plus, it's not like every night you're going to have a party every night, and you can still, when you have friends around, of course, you make exceptions. So I do think that a lot of people should listen more to their inner clock and just toss all of those ideals or, fixed notions that we have about when you should sleep and when you should be awake, just throw those away. Of course, it is not possible for everyone. Like if you have to go to a job and to an office on location during certain hours, obviously you can't do and change your work day around as much as if you are, for example, an online entrepreneur or just an entrepreneur looking for yourself in general. But I do think that in long term, you working to your strengths and sleeping to your strengths is going to be a lot more productive, and you're going to be a lot more fun to be around with.
Well, let's play some words now. That's going to move us to the second stage of the conversation. I normally play these a lot earlier, but I got so engrossed with your sexy talk, I forgot all about it. This is Jim Carrey.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
So stepping back to that conversation that you had with your husband when he said, oh, you're such a misery guts, just go for it, just go for it. Was it that you knew you were going to love it, or did you find the love afterwards? I'm very interested in how people take that leap.
I just knew. I really knew. It was just, once I had this little seed planted in my head, it just took roots. And the way I explain it is that I'm now the happiest I've ever been, because before I had a bad conscience, because I was really happy in terms of my family and in terms of my friends and everything around me. So I had a little bit of a bad conscience, actually, to feel miserable. And now I still have my family and my friends and everything that I adore and is great. Plus, I'm actually doing what I love to do. And it very quickly, it was just confirmed. Like I had this, it sounds really corny, but I really did have this little flame that ignited into a huge fire. And I was just like, okay, I've never had this feeling about working before, like ever. And it's like Monday mornings don't exist anymore. It's just like another day that I adore. And very quickly people came to me and were like, are you missing your holidays? And I just had to laugh, because I was like, for me, every day is a holiday, because I don't consider my work as being tedious and horrible.
Yeah.
So I really feel like I came home, and I really feel that an entrepreneur has it in his genes. You have this entrepreneurial crazy gene, or you don't. And I think once you find that, and either it connects and you're complete, or you're not, which is fine too, you know. But for me, I know that I can never go back, like ever. I adore this. I love this. I love this journey. I love the people I meet. I love what I do. So I know that I can do a lot greater things than I ever could in a fixed job. Because
it is madness, isn't it? Yeah, it is totally madness that people go, right, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get up at 6:30 in the morning, I'm going to have a shower, and I'm going to run down to the train to catch a train, stand there with a load of stuffy people with their armpits in my face, get to work, and then have a cold cup of coffee, sit there for 8 hours bored out my skull, and then come back, and then someone's going to say, sorry, we don't want you anymore. Build your own dream, people. It's so... No, it's not easy. It's easy after you've done it, but it's not easy at the time. But as Christine was saying, if you find the thing that provides great value to people and you love, you will be able to push through the times that are difficult. Now, my problem, Christine, I don't know if you have this, as well, I think you do from the discussion we just had. I can't switch off from it. This is the problem. I love doing this so much that on a Saturday afternoon, when I think to myself, it should be weekend, I'm doing this. And I say to my wife, no, there will come a time when I switch off. And she says, no, you're addicted to it now. And I kind of think, yeah, I know I am. You know, we're going off to Spain in a couple of weeks. And the last holiday I had, I took a laptop with me. And when she was just like cooking herself round the pool, I'd be looking around thinking, I can't just sit here doing this. Oh, I go and find some shade and some Wi-Fi and just carry on working, you know. And it's fallen into that trap of, I love it so much, but I can't actually escape from it. But I don't know if I want to escape. It's like the best girlfriend I've ever had that I keep on wanting to creep back and spend some time with. She's gorgeous, this girlfriend.
I completely agree. Although I have a boyfriend, but yeah, I completely agree. And we had 2 holidays ever since I became an entrepreneur. And the first time I remember that my husband and my daughter were fully dressed, ready to go to the playground. And it was in winter, so they were dressed in coats and everything. And I was like, just 5 more minutes. And before I understood what was actually happened, an hour had gone by, and the 2 had been waiting for me for an hour because I think I wanted to tweak something about Facebook ads, and it completely took me into this vortex of, you know, where you just go for tunnel vision. And the only time that I actually really or noticed that I let go, which was actually very helpful, was when I went snowboarding in winter. And I was so focused on not dying to go down this slope that I really had to switch off, you know. And we were, you know, you're in the mountains, there's no Wi-Fi, there's nothing. And there for a week, I did manage to switch off. And I have to say that it was amazing. But I had something else to focus on. So really getting down the mountain live. But that was amazing. And after that, I felt a lot more creative again, and it just shifted my perspective on lots of things. So I think it's important, but it is really hard, especially if you don't have distractions. And that's very hard to switch off. Like, I work every weekend because I love doing it. But then again, when I was a teacher, I also worked at the weekends, but I had to mark tests and homework, which I hated. So when people now tell me, but you're working the weekend, it's like, I did before, but this time I love doing it. And I literally, it's very hard for me to take a day off work completely. It's a little bit antisocial, I suppose, but yeah, you know.
It's boring, isn't it? It's boring. You got 150 million channels on your TV, and you think, oh, I'm going to watch something tonight. And you look at it, and after about 3 minutes, you think, oh, I can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered. I just run back and check things. Now, I created a whole recording studio. At the beginning, it says live from the back of his garden or something. And I knew right before I did this that I had to have a way of leaving it behind. So I do. I have a little laptop, a little sort of tiny little thing, which I take on holiday with me. But I rarely use that at all. And I have to walk away from the recording studio, turn my PC off, walk away, because otherwise I'm just going to be on it all the time. But is something, are we saying that is what you should be aiming for, or are we saying for the listeners that's actually something to be aware of?
Yeah, I think you're not aiming for it. I think it just happens. Before you know it, it just happens. And I think it's a good sign. I think it's the sign that you arrived and that you're where you're supposed to be. But yeah, if you are, you know, in a surrounding or in a relationship where your partner wants to have a lot of attention, then maybe it's not the best idea. But in general, I just think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, how rewarding is that to create, to spend your life doing something amazing, loving doing it. There's so much positivity around you. But yeah, it's something, I think it's a telltale that you're on the right track.
I go into the house sometimes at night. Well, I go home every night. It's a stupid thing to say. It's where I live. I live. And so I go home and the wife says, "Oh, are we going to watch something tonight?" And I go, "Yeah, what are we going to watch?" Because she gets into these box sets on Netflix. And she says, "Oh, shall we start on this?" And I go, "How many episodes?" And she says, 165. I go, "No, I can't get into 165 episodes or something. If it's one episode, fine. If it's two, at a push." And I say, "Oh, what are you going to watch?" And she says, "Well, you choose a film." And so I choose a film and I don't watch it. It's just like images floating in front of me. And she says, "What did that person just say?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know. I wasn't really interested in the first place. I'm only sitting here because of you." "Well, our relationship is going wrong." Well, she doesn't. But in my head, that's what she's saying. She's looking at me going, "Where has the communication gone? Where has the love gone? Where is all that sexy time we had at the beginning of our relationship?" And I think, well, 26 years later, love, it's going to change. It's going to change. That's why I got Netflix, to take the pressure away from myself. So how do you switch off from everything? You say snowboarding, but when you can't snowboard, when you're in the house, how would somebody be able to do that? I'm fascinated because it does tie in with sleep, doesn't it? If you can switch off long enough before you go to bed, then I would think that sleep would come easier. But because we're always looking at our laptops and stuff all the way up to that 5 minute before we turn the light out, how do you do it? What's a good way of doing it?
I think it's incredibly individual. We have the Netflix situation going on too, but I actually enjoy it a lot. So that's my way of doing it, and that's also, well, I'm not really communicating that much with my husband. I suppose we just watch the show and then comment a little bit. But that's like the time when we just both kind of relax. I suppose that's how I manage to switch off. But again, you have your iPhone with you. And so, you check your emails every now and then. But I think for people, it's so individual. But I know that some of my clients, they really enjoy having a last walk before they go to bed, just to let the thoughts come and just hit them there. So at least it's diffused by the time they go into bed.
If they're burglars, I reckon that would be perfect. A late night walk just before you go to sleep. It's the perfect client.
Yeah, of course. My burglar clientele adores that. But in general, I think the easiest thing for me to switch off is when I am with friends and family, because you just talk, you just talk to so many people and have fun. And that's the easiest for me, to just put my iPhone away and just completely forget it for six hours or 12 hours. And obviously I freak out when I switch it back on because I have a gazillion emails, but that's my easiest way of switching off. Maybe I could do exercise, but that's not really my thing. So, but
no, you don't do exercise with Netflix. We have got so many blimmin' exercise machines that turn up that my wife says, "Oh, I bought that. I saw it on the TV, and I'm going to use that while I'm watching telly." No, you're not. You're going to hang clothes on it. That's all they're there for. You never use them at all. Who needs exercise when you've got Netflix? Now, just before I play the words of Steve Jobs, who created the whole theme of the show, where's your dream building? Because when you start something, you want to create income, and then you start building something that's very successful, and then you start believing in yourself somehow, and you start thinking, "Oh my God, yeah, this is just the starting point." Can you see that you're in that point at the moment where you're actually realizing that it's not enough for you, what you've achieved so far?
Yeah, I mean, I set off with a huge vision that I want to leave, which is crazy, like the crazy dream, huge, of really having, like, my ultimate goal is really to create 2 charities, like million euro, pound, dollar charities. That's my ultimate goal where I'm going to. So right now I'm still at the beginning, like at least I'm moving, so at least I'm moving towards it. But how the dots are going to connect to get there, I don't know. Like, obviously I'm working for it and stuff, but I'm happy with where I am right now, but it's moving forward. Let's put it that way.
Let's play those words, because you'll get some inspiration on how those dots will join up. Here he is, Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college. But it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
Really true words, aren't they, Christine?
Yeah, no, definitely. So actually something that came into my mind is I'm from Luxembourg, but I was adopted when I was 4 months old. So I was born in Colombia. And for me, that's already the first dot, that I was supposed to be somewhere else, supposed to be in a family that made it possible for me to get all of this education and this great connection and basically my whole future. So looking at it in terms of how all of this is connected and will connect again, I think it's certainly relationships, I think for sure. In my case, but we'll see. But I think that's how I created everything in the past. That's how I developed. That's my strength, and I think that's also what's going to lead me to the future, rather than anything analytical. I'm really rubbish at that.
I think that's absolutely true with you, and I think that's how business is built, isn't it? It's about connections. I've become a great believer now that you don't build a business with outward connections, you build a business with inward connections. You have to start to really know yourself, first of all, and once you know yourself, then things start to magically occur around you. And I think that's really what sort of Steve Jobs says. You've got to trust in something, you've got to have faith. You don't know the answers, but you just got to go for it. But it is all to do with connections somehow, isn't it?
Absolutely. Completely. Yeah. I think that's the trust, the connections that you have, and also the part that you said of knowing yourself. And that can be very, very exhausting. Like, I think when you have a 9-to-5 job, you just work and you just do, and you have your free time where you're really busy because you work all the time, and you kind of lose touch. And when you become an entrepreneur, I think especially when you are in a service-based business where you have to connect with people in order for them to trust you to become a client, you need to know who you are and you have to go back to that. And it's basically getting to know yourself again, which is tough work. And I think I never spent as much time thinking about what I do, what my weaknesses are, what my strengths are, becoming aware of myself as much as during the last year. And it was sometimes exhausting, but it's so rewarding too. And I can really say that I'm in a good place, like that I am aware of the flaws, but that I'm also aware of my strength, and that I can say that I like myself as a person, which I think is also an amazing thing if you're aware of that.
No, love yourself. Don't like yourself. Love yourself, Christine.
I adore myself, but well, you want to be humble.
You don't want to be humble on this show. I'll tell you what, I do. I do love myself, and I say to my kids, they go, "I love you, Dad," and I go, "Yeah, but I hope you love yourself more," because I do think that that's true. Not that you go around sort of staring at yourself all the time in mirrors and kissing yourself and stuff, but it does come to that point, doesn't it? When you actually go, "Look, I am who I am." I know that I'm at heart an idiot. And I do know that I like to have fun, I like to play, I like to embrace laughter and enjoyment. And that is my thing. That's it. But for a long time, I ran away from that. I thought that I had to be serious. I thought I had to be, frown in board meetings and stroke my beard like all the other women in the room. And I am totally in love with how I can be on the microphone, because I think that is when it comes together for you. That's your super talent. That's when you go, look, this is I am who I am, and you just want to be that. So love yourself, Christine. Let's have a big loving.
Yeah, I give you a virtual hug right here.
It's real, listeners. She says it's virtual. I tell you what. She's been stalking me for years. You can't keep away from her. Well, this is the end of the show, and this is the bit that we've been building up to, which is the Sermon on the Mic, when we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you go back in time and speak to the young Christine, what advice would you give, and what age would you choose too? Well, we're going to find out, because I'm going to play the theme tune, and when it fades, you're up. This is the Sermon on the Mic. Ooh, ah, ooh,
here we go with The best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Okay, Christine. So you are 22, you're back from uni, and as it happened, you started teacher training because circumstances led you there. And you kind of just went with it. And my message to you is don't ever hesitate or don't ever doubt what you can do and who you are, and that's perfectly fine. And don't let any people who really suck at their job tell you things that you know are not true. Don't let that drag you down, and go for it. Do what your gut tells you, trust your voice, and you will get to somewhere beautiful.
And little Christine, when you get older and you're on a podcast, really emphasize the fact that sexy time is good for all podcasters out there. Don't hold back on that. Don't hold back on that. That is the advice. Now, you don't know who this voice is, but just get it into your brain. Just get it into your brain. I should have done it in a floaty voice there. Well, what's the number one best way that our audience can connect with you, Christine?
Yeah, you can always find me on my website, so sleeplikeaboss.com, or on LinkedIn, where you can find me under the by Christine Hansen. And I'd just love you to reach out and just send me an email, and we can talk together immediately. And you can just do that at Christine@sleeplikeaboss.com. And I'd love to hear from you, seriously. Like, don't hesitate to reach out. It's always great to build connections and to help, really.
Great stuff. We'll have all the links on the show notes. Christine, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. Please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our pasts is the best way to build our futures. Christine Hansen, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. It was great.
Sexy time, sexy time. I tell you what, I'm going to cancel the rest of the day's shows. That lady has inspired me. Well, at least to get some good night's sleep, because it has been bad this week. But I think it's more the temperature and stuff. But I'm going to look at my bedtime routine, because I always fall asleep about 8 o'clock at night, more often than not because I'm kind of bored. But I'm going to see if I can do something about that, and I will report back so that I have got more energy to record episodes of Join Up Dots. And the bottom line on that show is you can do something that you love, and you can create work-life balance that doesn't exist. Work is life, life is work, and you just enjoy all of it. And that, my friends and listeners, is the key to Join Up Dots. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. This was David Ralph. That was Christine Hansen, episode 563, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Are you tired of the same routine, the 9 to 5, the mundane? Or perhaps have lost touch with the dreams and passions that led to a life that's a wow, and simply don't know where to start? Then Join Up Dots has the answer. Dream Starter Academy is the #1 group mastermind online today, showing our members how to create their own business, lifestyle, or dream job, teaching you how to find your thing, teaching you how to build income around your passions, and giving you a life where you leap out of bed with a instead of a. We surround you 24/7 with the greatest entrepreneurs, business owners, and dreamers online today who are ready to help you get going. They followed the simple steps laid out for them and saw their lives change forever, and you can do the same. So are you ready to change your life, explode your income, and create the dream life that you have always, dreamt of? Then join with us today by heading over to joinupdots.com and look for Dream Starter Academy. We look forward to working with you. See you on the inside.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.